Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Korean Open Division Playoff Season 3 Grand Finals, brought to you by Broadcast.gg. I'm so excited. Actually, I'm Ham Tornado, your host, and on the desk with me are the beautiful, big brain British boys. Fowles, there we have it, and John Allen, bespectacled too, I might add. You've got to get that, sextuple alliteration in. And of course, our casters today will be Lemon, Kiwi, and Hirix as well. But first, we got to talk about these teams. Made it all the way through Korean Open Division to this grand finals now. Not only have they secured themselves a spot in Contenders Trials, of course, but they will now be battling for that first place spot alongside that pride and quite a impressive prize pool for Open Division. But we'll start off with Going Waters. This is a pretty interesting medley of a team. Vowels, if you could just take us through their roster.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good names on this roster. Amy in particular, one of the longest standing members of the pro Overwatch community in Korea. Great Apex fame, great support play coming out on the Lucio, Anna, just about anything you throw at them really. And they've put this roster together themselves. So Amy is the clear captain in a lot of these engagements, and it's going to be interesting to see how their play affects the rest of the roster going forward. Two other players I want to highlight: Water. His DPS play literally flows like water. We've seen him a lot in Chinese contenders lately. He's got absolutely great projectile play on the Genji in particular, and it's going to be interesting to see how he's integrated in this new roster. And finally, I want to talk about At risk of sounding like a broken record, if you watched our last match, I love great main tanks. I love aggressive main tanks. And is obnoxiously aggressive. He's the clear carry in all of these engagements, and it's going to be interesting how the rest of the team can play around him.
Yeah, so some veteran names, Water from LYB of Chinese fame, alongside some of these other great, veteran players on the Korean side of things that make up Going Waters. But, you talked about that main tank, and one of the best ways to shut down a main tank is get rid of all his cooldowns. And if WildCat has anything in their back pocket, it's going to be a good Sombra play. John, could you just tell us a little bit about this team?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we saw them really have a really strong performance throughout these playoffs so far, and it's really down to, as you said, like that disruption that they're able to bring, as well as that solid front line provided by Muse, by White Snow. Both of these players, they're just so solid when they do come to the tank line. And so another player that I do want to highlight as well is Haven. Very strong on that DPS, very flexible as well, and able to just move around and try and see what they can get done. So looking forward to this next matchup, I think it's really going to be how that tank line can communicate with the DPS that's going to make it or break it for them.
Yeah, WildCat certainly has, a large hero pool at their, available for them. Flexi is Hexy. Flexi is sexy, rather, although Hexy is also Flexi sexy if you catch his, streams. But both of these teams have, some very similar strong points. Like both of you guys brought up the fact that, Muse and White Snow alongside Umtae and Nojiwan, both of these tanks will kind of be guiding their teams in terms of where they want to initiate, how deep they want to go. What would be the big difference maker, or kind of that wild card that we need to keep our eyes on for Going Waters, Vals?
I think it's going to come down to Yampi on the flex role. He's one of the few players that still puts flex into flex tank, the old name we used before everyone moved off to off tank. And yeah, plays to Diva and Zaya to a really high level. But we also see him come out on a couple DPS picks. He's got a really good winner maker when you put Noji on the off tank role. Compel to Tracer and McCree as well. I think Yampi is going to be the key for Going Waters. If he can be flexible, if he can be aggressive and play to a high level and all of his flexible roles, I think that's going to be key for Going Waters. Catch WildCat off guard, have a little bit of flexibility, and initiate the fights from there.
Indeed, Reno. John, what could WildCat be bringing to the table besides kind of those points that we've already touched upon? Or do you think that that's already plenty sufficient? They play solid, they got that synergy. What else could you ask for?
I think that it's really going to come down to how the support line is going to handle it. We saw Half have a blinder of a game over in those quarterfinals on multiple different heroes as well.
Guy's a fragger, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's not playing support really. Like, he's playing, but he's not playing support. He's really just a DPS at heart. That was
mini Jonak.
It's like when you play solo queue with a 6 stack, and it's like, okay, who's going to go support? And then one of the DPS mains has to go, okay, I'll do it. So what's happening here apparently? But no, Half really, really good on that support line. So I'm going to be looking for those nano boosts, looking for those coalescences to be used in conjunction with the tank line, because I think coordination and communication is where WildCat are going to have the chance here in this final.
Exactly. When you move as a team, there are no bad decisions if everybody is behind it, right? So really going to be hoping to look for some of that team play. Oh, there are. Oh, wow.
You
Okay.
just make the same decision. It's just all bad.
Okay, a slightly less bad.
Less
This
bad.
is the best bad idea we have. Okay. Yeah. But this is going to be a slobber knocker of a fest. I personally have no idea who's going to be coming out ahead, but lucky for me, not an analyst. So you guys in the hot seat, Vowels, you are up first in the dunk tank. Any predictions here? Who do you think is going to take this grand finals?
I'm going to give it narrowly over to Goin Waters side. I feel like these two teams are going to be pretty evenly matched. We're going to see quite a long set as they trade maps back and forth. But at heart, I've been casting Chinese contenders for a while. I'm a homer for it. I was really impressed with how Water was playing in Chinese contenders, and purely off the back of that, I'm going to side with Going Waters here.
Boy loves his water. Got to stay hydrated. How about you, John?
I'm going to have to agree on this one. I think that I'm going to be less on the fence, and I think it's going to be quite a clean game for Going Water. Just with the strength that they've displayed so far in the playoffs, and as you say, with those players, with those names that they have on board, I think it's really hard to go against them here. So I'm looking for not necessarily a clean game, as you said. Maybe a couple of these maps could go either way, but I think Going Water are going to be pretty dominant here.
Ooh, not a whole lot of dissent on the desk this time. John trying to avoid the bitter sting of defeat that Kenobi tasted in our third place predictions. So, all right, both of you guys are going for Going Waters. I'm going to have to give WildCat then my backing. Sometimes you just never expect when the claws are going to come out. So I'm going to be hoping that WildCat can at least give Going Waters a run for their money, potentially take it, as a little bit of an underdog. But the games are going to be coming our way. We're going to throw to just a little bit of a quick break while we get everything ready. Don't go anywhere, folks. Korean Open Division Grand Finals coming your way in just a bit.
When you're young, when you're restless, when you're fun, cause you're desperate. Oh, here they come for a chance, for adventure. What's your poison? What's your pleasure? Oh, my city, she never sleeps, my city. She never weeps, my city. She keeps me alive. Give it up for my city, oh, oh, give it up for my city, oh, oh, give it up for my city, oh, 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 give it up.
Welcome everybody to Broadcast.gg. Welcome back. Actually, it's the grand finals of I would say Contenders Korea. It's Open Division Korea, and they're going all the way to Contenders, no matter what. At least the trials. Welcome. It's Lemon Kiwi and Urix. How are you feeling about this match?
I feel like it probably is basically contenders. Both these teams play like contenders level teams. It's going to be exciting to see which one actually winds up in first place here. But already out of the gates, we're seeing Haven on that Sombra. This is something they like to play as a variant of the goats with the Ana, and just allowing Haven to kind of have a different choice, really throw curveballs at the opposition.
Owner is just the master also of the Brigida, and of course I curse him. He just goes down. Water on the Fair is going to provide a lot of give a lot of trouble to players such as Owner that don't have a lot of range to deal with, and just like that, it flips over to Going Waters.
It feels like Goin Waters really kind of scouted out what WildCat likes to do, because, you know, obviously, like I said, Haven likes to be, you know, things like Sombra in this particular matchup and on this map here. Goin Waters just flipped the script on him, went dive, went with the Fair as well. You can see Water just all the way up top here. I don't think they even really spotted him for quite a while.
He's gonna drop down. He's gonna drop down right now, and there's no Diva inside. He lands the barrage and at least takes out one, but there is backup eventually of the Diva coming in. Now, Farah versus Farah in the sky. Haven gonna eat. Actually, it's Noah by Water's side. Now, Going Water will try to move on in. They don't have Noji as the off tank. Not a lot of matrix, not a lot of cover that Water is going to have, but they will be able to set up, I believe that's Doha's EMP for the upcoming fight.
Oh, we see the Sombra sneaking in the back line as well. Can he actually find some value here with the MP? Gets them all!
Gets them all in. All the Reinhardts can do is just swing the hammer, and you got the Nano Boost placed onto Water, the star player of Going Waters, as now they look to flip over the point and get rid of the remaining reinforcements of WildCat.
There's not much left here to dispose of, and once they get it in just a second's time, they will flip this, and about even on the score line here in terms of capture progress. But when you look at who's had control of this matchup, it seems like it has been Goin Waters, and that is in line with what our analysts were talking about before. And I have to agree, I mean, Goin Waters seems like the team to beat.
Oh, he got another barrage from Water. Last time it was huge, and he's in the exact same position. The rally's going to start off. Maybe this can add some buffer to the damage coming in. The Coalescence is pressuring Water away. He's not finding the best opportunity for the barrage. You know, a couple seconds away. The self-destruct, though, actually gets Haven the other Fair. Now, freedom for Water. He drops down onto the Brigida. What an anti-heal from Noah to assist with all that damage. Triple kill, even Umte's Primal Rage thrown in there. Going Waters up to 70%.
You know, something that we talked about going into this matchup, you know, between us when we were having a conversation about these teams, is that Amy and Noah together, they really play off each other quite well, and they know how to set up their DPS. A lot of times you'll see Water on this Farah able to pull off barrages and not die, which is actually quite a big thing actually on the Farah.
EMP just dropped here for Going Waters. Another Nano onto Water, and Sound Bear from WildCat. So a lot of ultimates being used here. Self-destruct's going to keep Water away. Does it catch him? And yes, it does. This is the moment for WildCat to take it back. 98, 99. It starts to flip over. Going Water, though, they have room. They have ultimates to make space. Mainly the self-destruct from Noji clears out Haven. It's always these self-destructs catching the Farahs off guard. As Going Waters, they'd love to win the fight out here. It's not over yet. However, Resurrect's giving WildCat the number advantage. Umte looking for the boops off the map. He's not going to get it.
He's usually just so good at that, too. I mean, he was right there ready to get those, but now they're going to go for a quick reset, make sure that Haven can't really kind of just suppress them as much as he would really like to in this situation, because, you know, given the fact that he has Barrage here, he's really kind of looking to put himself into a position where he can really, you know, be enabled by the rest of his team, particularly the Diva and White Snow, and get a Barrage off much the same capacity that Water was able to earlier.
An EMP drops here, and that's another opportunity for a barrage for Water. This time a triple kill. Supports are out for WildCat. This should spell the end of the game. Going Water, flip it over. It's at 99%. What can WildCat do? Desperation switches. You got the Soldier. You got the Tracer. Is it going to be enough? The answer is no. Going Waters lead this first control 1-0 on Lijiang.
So again, WildCat, they start off on these control maps. They like to play variants of goats. They like to allow Haven to kind of be that curveball. They like to throw in Maze. They like to throw in, Pharahs. They like to throw in Sombras. That's oftentimes what you're going to see from them. But I feel like Goin Waters instantly knew what this was going to be like. They knew how to adapt to this very early on. And instantly we're seeing some adaptation now being forced onto WildCat. You see, they're not playing that same style anymore. They are playing instead a dive-based tank lineup. While Haven, yes, is still playing those types of heroes on DPS, it's not the same exact execution style that WildCat would like to have, where they play off of their synergy together as a core unit. Goin Waters is just too good at making sure that they disrupt that.
And speaking of synergy, you know how much resources were poured into Water, hence why he was winning these Pharah battles up against Haven, who Haven not going to match him on this one. He's going to be on the Sombra and still loses out on that fight against Water.
So clutch. I think he even got the hack to make sure that he couldn't take the translocator, so it was just an easy cleanup for the Pharah.
But it's going to be Water always pressuring. It felt like no one's really paid attention to him, and who really can? It's going to be up to Haven to get some hacks. Not a lot of hit scan for WildCat to go against Water with. Hopefully an EMP can cut the wings of Water in the upcoming fights, but Goin Water easily take this first fight and the first take.
So far, the playoffs have been a lot about just asserting dominance. I mean, that really has been kind of the storyline for what we've seen so far. And even in that same regard, Goin Waters is doing basically the same thing here. It's just asserting dominance over WildCat, showing that they're the better team. They're the one to make sure that you're on the lookout for. That's so far been the case, as we do see Doa 90% towards that EMP. A lot of value the first time we saw it on the last map.
And he's been chasing out in the spawn, hence why he's able to build from 80% to 100 before the fight even starts. EMP at the ready. The barrage from Water is ready. And now you actually place the nano onto Noji, who goes up with Umte to pressure. And look at this, they've already won the fight, and they haven't spent really a single ultimate except the nano boost. And that's not really groundbreaking, because now it looks like he's going to get it probably within the next fight.
I mean, something to keep your eye on with this matchup is for sure the tank battle. So far, it really hasn't mattered, because Water just keeps diving into the backline and getting things like this off.
What a setup. They actually pull this in the spawn, and it's very flashy, but not as much of value that you're getting. They're going to be respawning in just a little bit, and the spawn doors are right next to that. So Goin Water really putting their foot down in this map.
Now we're going to see still the sound barrier ready. I mean, WildCat's going to have to try to use basically everything at their disposal just to get this one back. And then how do you even hold on to it?
Well, maybe with a Primal Rage from Muse, that's going to be the main tank from WildCat. A lot of pressure on his shoulders, and you got a self-destruct from White Snow. This can build a lot of room. The Valkyrie starts off from Cosmos, but it's the self-destruct that takes out Haven, your main damage dealer. Now you have to go in with Owner only as the Tracer, who now is going to have to deal with a lot of trouble from Water, who's already going after the supports of WildCat. And WildCat can't really afford to reset here. It's 99% for Goin Waters, 1-0 on Li Zhang. Primal Rage from Muse is going in.
Well, we do see some kills coming online for WildCat as Wild Snow does go down. They still have their Pharah in play. They have the barrage ready. There's a sound barrier to keep them safe as well.
Oh, and the sound barrier, you got me, and the barrage along with that tried to keep Haven up as much as they could. But the pressure from Goin Waters, look how they have 5 ultimates left over. They've won this fight already. The Primal Rage just to toss everybody up, but overtime is over. That ultimate economy from Goin Waters is so strong, along with them taking Li Zhang 2-0.
I mean, Goin Water is just all about efficiency right now. Everything that they're doing is so efficient. We see the ultimate use just on point. They haven't really made any mistakes in that regard at all in terms of the timings, the placement, the positioning, the setup, the execution. Everything is flowing perfectly for Goin Water.
It was really a one-sided Pharah duel to say between Pharah or Haven and Water. Now, even the Sombra from Haven, I don't think really stood out to me that much. And even when what's the team? I already forgot the team name. The other team, that's how quick this map went already. But as soon as WildCat had ultimates, I felt like it never was a turned around fight. I never felt like they had an advantage.
Yeah, it really seemed like there was a couple of moments where they were able to just kind of brawl the fight out, and they were able to get control just based purely off of just sheer willpower and the ability to just pop as many ultimates as they could possibly muster. But again, that comes down to efficiency. When Go and Water forces them into a situation like that, they're just being far more efficient. They can come back, in a couple of moments and just win the next fight and then gain control from there. I think obviously, yes, Night Market was a little bit closer. We had some back and forth there, but Goin Waters, I think, displayed what this matchup is going to continue to look like in that last series we saw on Gardens, where it was just again a story of dominance being asserted on the opposition. Goin Waters, I think, is just so strong right now. We're still going to see more looks from them as they bring in guys like Yampi here as well. Umte, I think, is going to continue to show out. We didn't even really get the chance to talk about him because of how insane Water was. But even to think, Water having a showing like that isn't always going to be playing here. They still have Yampi in their back pocket.
And from the previous matches we saw for example, the semifinals, Water really only appeared on the control map, and Yampi actually plays a pretty good Pharah on the other map. So I wonder what kind of substitutions, like you said, are we going to see from Going Water?
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the case. I think, that we might see Water on some other map or something like that, where we might see like Pharah in play or something, where they might flex to a Brig where he can probably flex to that as well and allow him to play the Pharah. But if they think that he's going to be countered, he's not going to be playing there. I think Yampi's certainly the pick for them throughout this series, provided it's not control.
And Yampi's quite a flex player. Not only have we seen him on Pharah, he plays a pretty insane Widow, and he's the designated Widow from Going Water. While as WildCat, I guess that will be Owner, where Owner, the DPS player, has been fairly quiet in the series so far.
Yeah, Owner is someone that I think, certainly I was keeping an eye on. Widowmaker is certainly a very pivotal role, and Owner has been very solid on that role. We've seen time and time again how he's been able to really turn fights and make sure that he controls maps, given his ability to kind of step up in that capacity. But Yampi, I think, is a guy that can match up with him very nicely, especially with the resources that are going to be given to him and the space that is going to be created by Umte.
I'm a big fan of Owner just because he pulled out the Torbjorn on the semifinals, and I don't know if he's going to meme us in this grand finals. And to also keep in mind for all the viewers at home, both these teams are going to trials. This is all about the big bucks. First place walking around with, let's say, converted to USD, about $4.5 thousand. Second place, around $2.7 thousand US. So a lot of money on the line for just an open division grand finals.
Yeah, it's certainly. I mean, that's a ton of money for Open Division, and I think a lot of bragging rights going into trials as well. I think that is going to have an impact in terms of just the mental game, the momentum that is going to carry through into that matchup, and really give them some confidence in a matchup that really truly matters for them.
I think their wallets are going to be very confident too. And he's just walking away from a best of 7, $5,000 richer, well divided by 6, but still pretty much richer than I am doing this, of course. But Going Water on the attack. We got the Dive, Sombra, Genji, Amy on the Ana, Noah on the Zen.
So Water is actually in here, and a lot of times you see Doa actually providing the Genji, but he's going to be on Sombra as Water is going to bring in that projectile DPS that he just fares so well with, especially given his performance on that last map. It's no surprise to see him here in the lineup.
And there is a synergy between the supports. Amy and Noah, both fantastic Ana players. But Noah, I was about to compliment your Zen, my guy, and you're going to go and drop like that. Haven coming up from behind. Both Sombras really popping off in this match.
Yeah, we're going to see Haven just look to play very defensively here. He doesn't want to be caught out by Doa this time. I mean, we saw Haven get shut down a little bit on the Sombra back on Gardens, if I'm not mistaken. So he definitely wants to make sure that doesn't happen here. They just want to play for time.
And they are able to walk away with a take. Going Waters having the very close respawn. They can just continue to trickle in. You can see WildCat. Haven is low. They've already lost their main healer of Costos, or as we like to say, Costco? I hope I don't say that, but attack has already gone through very quickly here for Going Waters.
So I was gonna say it's so American of you to suggest that it would be Costco,
Hey, we have
but
those
you're
in
not.
Canada.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not even American. I mean, so it's tough.
Shh, don't
but...
say anything.
But either way, we're still gonna see that EMP ready for Doha here. He obviously has just been so insane in terms of the consistency here. He's gonna almost get the hack off on Haven. Almost caught my boy out once more, but this time Haven will catch that with a left click.
Yeah, always good to stop hacks with a little bullet tickle, but Going Water still pushing the cart. It's getting ready to street phase. Both teams keeping those dive tanks. Usually you're going to see the swap to the Ryan Zarya. We know how pivotal those Gravitons are, but both teams very close to ultimates. Don't want to make that swap quite yet.
It's interesting to see how both teams are taking so much time for setup. Obviously, WildCat is totally fine with this taking this kind of time, but you can see them just sneaking in the back line, and they find Noah.
It looked like it's stuck. I guess it just ate a chunk of damage. Haven is very low. WildCat have a very flanky, almost a preemptive defense to start.
They did use a few ults to actually capture that, though, while Goin Waters, obviously they didn't use anything. So I think that actually bodes well for Goin Waters. They take that L, but it's not a big fat red one. It's a tiny one and perhaps a Talix. They lose some time, but as long as they don't lose anyone here to this Biotic, they should be okay.
Yeah, a quick EMP here from Doa, and this came out during the nano boost from Amy's. Already 2 ultimates, Primal Rage from Umte to make some more room. They still have the leftover blade here from Water, the Transcendence from Noah. This is a lot of ultimates for Going Water. They're making space, Water getting trapped against the wall. He somehow survives that.
We'll see the blade being held on by Water. He's going to die with that, but still, look at this cart. It's still being pushed despite the fact that they're in this fight. They are still, dropping bodies here as well, and it's just this lack of contest that's going to allow them to continue pushing it. They're going to win the fight with, Doa Sombra just being insane and getting those hacks off, denying the Matrix as well so that they can find the Diva kill rather quickly, and they're just surging forward.
Oh, how does the random Zen Orb get you out of invisibility? But Water also probably holding on to that blade, not knowing when Half used his Transcendence last, and they weren't able to get WildCat's Transcendence out, but almost to point B. Going Water, going in on another fight, but it's the defense that drops the EMP. Haven is out in there, but you got a nano boost from Kostos. Going in, WildCat, they have the upper hand, and they're diving in onto the exposed supports.
Oh, we'll have to see if Whitesnow can get out. He cannot. Everybody just disintegrating. It's going to be Umte jumping forward. Yes, he's purpled, but he does have that damage reduction, not only from close to having his ult, but also, of course, having the nano boost on him at that time. So they're just going to stay incredibly healthy as they clean things up here.
And we just talked about Half's Transcendence. He actually didn't use it in that fight, so maybe that would have been something WildCat could have needed to hold on to point B, but he knows how pivotal that blade from Water could be. And we got another EMP from Doa, so Going Water are just stacking ultimates like crazy.
Yeah, holding on to everything. I think Half is just trying to bide time, make sure that he has that Transcendence for the blade, especially should it get nano boosted. But obviously with Amy utilizing that last time on Umte, I'll have to see. Blade still at the ready, EMP ready as well. They get the hack onto the Ana in the back line.
And that's such an early Transcendence. Going Water now, making tons of room. They send the self-destruct. They have the Primal Rage. EMP drop from Doa, and it's time for the blade. No Transcendence in sight. This is Going Waters going ham on this payload. 3 minutes and 30 left for them to finish King's Row, and they push WildCat back to the spot.
Oh, Brick could die here as well as they catch him out, but does get some support, manages to get back over into his spawn, and now they're looking at Whitesnow instead as he did get hacked. Now diving into the back line, it's going to be, a sleep dart and a knockoff!
I thought he reflected Kostos' nano boost into, I don't even know what just happened. So many nano boosts going on. Going Water though got completely pushed back, and this is a lot on the backs of the tanks from WildCat.
Yeah, I mean, again, that tank matchup just being so pivotal, and these Anas just popping off, making sure that their tanks are the one that's going to come out ahead in that fight, in that battle. And it's been a knockdown, drag out one at that. Here we see Haven sneaking his way through. Got detected for a moment there, but I don't think they see him or know that he's in the back line behind their Xin, taking him down from behind.
And you got the hack onto Diva. That's a grocery store of ultimates for the rest of your team. Haven, what a pivotal play to keep up this defense and shave it down to 2 minutes left.
We'll see them cleaning things up once again. I mean, Haven absolutely making plays left and right and really turning things back around from his Gardens performance on Sombra just earlier.
Yeah, now he's really stepping up to the team. Going Water, though, at least they were able to use that as an eco fight, building up towards the EMP and the blade. Self-destruct goes in, though. It somehow catches Umte.
Yeah, just snuck its way right inside of there. And, avoiding somehow Amy Sleep Dart. Amy still finds the kill.
Oh, that's unlucky. That Amy was so low there. But Going Waters now, they've stacked up to 6 ultimates. This is do or die. This is how you're going to be dealing with this EMP Blade Nano Boost Transcendence. But you got Half with his own Transcendence, and he needs to go big for this upcoming fight.
Oh, we see some ults coming out. Half dying very early, not going to be able to deny that blade, but Water forced off.
A nanoed Brigitte is the last person you want to go after with that blade, but Going Water's going to make up for it. Almost cleans up that Sombra. Who knows where she just translocated? There you go. Found Haven. Going Water, though, they're not getting the finishing kills they need. Half comes back with the Transcendence, but it's too late. Most of his team is taken care of. WildCat can at least depend on the self-destruct from White Snow to come right back, but he gets DMAC before he can use that. Going Water pressuring all the doorways, and they will finish with about a minute left. But here they started with almost 3.5 minutes going into this point.
Yeah, WildCat did a lot there to make sure that they denied a lot of what was left of the time bank going into that final phase of the map. You know, prior to that, Goin Waters was again just asserting their dominance. They were just trouncing WildCat left and right. There were a couple of moments where we saw some good plays come out from WildCat, you know, sneaking around the side, playing off of flanks. I think that was a really good look for them. But again, that efficiency coming back up for Goin Waters, when they take those L's, they're not big ones. When they're in fights, they're making sure that they're covering all their bases. You know, yes, they might have a few people dropping here and there, but they're still pushing that payload throughout a fight. WildCat still struggling to play for control. As we see, you know, Goin Waters, they always have Naji1 and Umte vying for that space, vying for room for their backline, vying for just more aggression and oppression to allow for their DPS to come through and just clean things up. I mean, if Goin Waters is able to defend the way that they attacked, this should be in the bag for the side of Goin Waters.
And this King's Row is much, much closer, I feel, than Lijiang Tower was. Going Water have so many the tools to success, and they were doing quite well. But what I really want to highlight is WildCat's defense. You know, it was 4 minutes or something that Going Water had to go into point C with ultimates on the board. And WildCat, mainly Haven, really stepping up to the plate, really shaving off the time off that time bank, coming it down to 50 seconds when realistically, that could have been a 3-minute time bank for Going Water. But WildCat really shutting it down at the last few meters of their attack.
And one of my other questions is bringing Water into this. I mean, what kind of impact does his hero pool have over just bringing in Yampi, who's very flexible? I mean, we know Water has Genji, he has Pharah, and he can do Brig, but can he do other things? Is that going to be something that might hold them back here?
We'll see how much Going Waters can hold WildCat back on their attack, though, as it looks like a modification of Goats with the Sombra. WildCat going in towards Hotel. Going Waters sticking to the dive, the Sombra Genji, exactly what they played on the last one. Haven doing his Haven thing of going towards the backline, setting up a hack, mainly on the Diva. No Matrix, no mobility. This is a lot of ultimates, but look at the backup that Umte just provided to protect his Diva.
Seems like the Genji Sombra is the perfect setup as they just dive right in. I mean, Umte just clearing the floor and just going right through. I mean, the ult charge alone, you can see how across the board, everybody had an impact in that fight. Everybody was going forward and being aggressive. Their execution off the counter dive was exceptional as well. Now we'll see another look from WildCat as they made some adjustments to their composition.
It's going to be a tough fight for WildCat. Going Water about to have EMP Blade coming into this fight, and WildCat aren't using a Zenyatta, so not that Transcendence to fully nullify these ultimates going through as the EMP drops from Doha. Where's the Blade from Water? Doesn't look like they want to use it. They're actually able to win the fight without it.
Doha just having a go of it on this Sombra, got a big EMP. Looked like he was going to go for a hack there, but decided, you know what? I'm not going to settle for one. I'm gonna get them all. Did just that. Amy with a biotic grenade follow-up because he knew that defense matrix was going to be down off of the EMP as well. And that's, again, just great communication, great setup. Everything, again, just flowing perfectly for Goin Waters.
Was catching Haven into the back, but he's going to have the EMP quite soon, and tons of support ultimates for WildCat. Coalescence going to start off from Half, but he gets actually sliced down from Waters' Dragon Blade. Half is not feeling this Moira right now.
And you have to wonder, maybe they start finding ways to try to deal with water. Because again, you know, you have to wonder what his hero pool is looking like. You know, what kind of options are we going to get out of him? Is he going to be able to be, you know, a dominant hit scan or something of that nature? Or are they going to force the Sombra off to start dealing with something like a Pharah? I mean, can they pull something out here with Haven?
It's already forced at least half back to the Ana. Haven, though, Work It has this EMP. This is what they need to depend on. Minute and a half left. Both EMPs actually drop, but it's the Transcendence from Noah that makes it through. Huge advantage for Going Water. As you see, WildCat are falling, but maybe working towards some more ultimates in the upcoming fight. But Going Water, remember, won this point within the first fight, so WildCat already had a huge disadvantage time-wise.
Yeah, I really think that they need to bring out something like a Pharah to make sure that you're getting away from water, getting away in some regard to from Doha as well. Bring a Mercy out so you have less people just getting bombarded with EMPs and hacks, and then force a dive onto the back line where you're putting pressure on Amy so he can't just do whatever he wants throughout the entirety of this defense.
Oh, both Primal Rages online, so WildCat in their last minute going to start the rally. They're actually somewhat onto the high ground, going in towards the right side of the map, taking out one of the main tanks of Going Water. Noji had a self-destruct, so you can see Going Water giving up space. They want to have those reinforcements, but this leaves their supports completely stranded. Amy not getting a chance to use the nano boost. Noah goes down, and you got the blade from Water going in. Can he make up for his supports going out? 2 ticks already earned for WildCat. They should be able to get the payload here.
Oh, they'll be able to snatch it up. They didn't need the Pharah in the end. All they needed to do was make sure that they caught Noji out of position, got him with the hack, denied his ability to reposition back over to his team. That regression point that he wanted just was not there for him. They got the point, then easily were able to jump onto the back line, as I was talking about before. So a different approach to the same result, getting into the back line, taking down Amy and Noah. That's an easy fight for them.
Well, you're talking about swaps that WildCat could do. I'm loving this Brigida from Owner. This is really going to provide some trouble to Water as the EMP drops actually from both teams. Nano boost onto Noji. Going Water, going in onto WildCat, who just seem to be falling, and only Primal Rage from Muse starts to create some space into the backline, but that leaves his supports completely just stranded. Half and Costos are down. Going Water, stabilize on the payload.
You're absolutely right about the Brigida, though. I mean, you know, Goin Waters has been incredibly aggressive on this defense. You can see Waters just postured so aggressively right now, looking to put pressure onto this Diva and force the reset, or rather the respawn. And, you know, this kind of look really begs the Brigida to come out. You know, you can have that opportunity to help out your backline Costos in half, making sure that you can just kind of throw anybody off. On top of that, you're playing triple support, right? You're making sure that those flanks aren't going to happen as often. Sombra is not going to have that same efficacy in the backline.
Oh my god, this blade placement goes right into the back, finds a 2-for-1, and the fight is already over. Thankfully, WildCat didn't use any ultimates, but what a spot from Water. This guy is popping off this match.
And we saw, that's not the first time we've seen him perch up like that too. Remember back on Night Market, he was actually perched up on that little, what was it, like an antenna or like a pole or something? I don't think I've ever seen someone do that in a competitive matchup. I've seen it a couple times in like customs and stuff and like, you know, a scrim block or two, but I don't think I've ever seen that in a competitive matchup where someone was able to just use that and just dive bomb on people with a barrage, but that's a pick right there.
Hot damn it. I mean, that's a really important kill because he would have built EMP if he would have kept that clip going. And wow, Half really on point with those Zenyatta orbs. So this will leave WildCat some room as Going Water give up that space. They want to have their Sombra for this coming fight.
Okay, well, EMP ready for Haven now. We will see Doha catching up for sure as he's coming back from spawn, but already he's there, and there's the EMP to follow.
First EMP from the defense. This catches White Snow completely in the middle of Crossfire. Gets DMAC very quickly. Going Water, just clearing the payload on the back of just a Primal Rage and an EMP. WildCat down to their last 10 seconds. Can they even get back to the payload? Look at the ultimates they have to work with. A rally. You gotta have your Lucio. You gotta have Kostas just speed everybody there. There's only a couple seconds. I don't think anybody can make it in time. Actually, somehow Kostas is backcapping it.
Oh, but he got hacked there, and they're trying to push their way over. Costos is in danger, but meanwhile, Half is all over the kill feed.
It's enough time for the rest of the team to make it back. Haven drops the EMP. WildCat are continuing. They already demech Doji. They're going after Umte. Going Water are missing. This was their last chance to hold point B. And in overtime, on the back of Kazdos, WildCat just barely survived street phase.
I mean, we see the Lucio going forward and basically saving the day. Didn't ever expect him to be able to go up there, contest, and have the team turn around and win the fight behind him. But nonetheless, they were able to accomplish just that.
Oh my god, we're down to the last minute and 10. I can't even deal. Going Water gonna have a Blade EMP for this fight. The rally starts out from WildCat. They have a leftover Sound Bear. They start the Coalescence. Transcendence, though, sort of nullifies everything that's going on here, especially for Noah. Going Water, stabilizing on the payload. WildCat not making any progress. They just have to push Umte back, who gets stunned and taken care of. This is a huge kill for WildCat. Now they have an EMP. They don't even need it, but they need to make up for this distance in the last 40 seconds. This is the last fight for WildCat to even up the series.
You can already see Haven getting into position. He's kind of just scouting out, getting intel, telling everybody to be ready for the Genji. Water just waiting to use that blade, and off the side goes Muse.
Who did that even catch? I don't think it caught anybody that important because you got two support ultimates from WildCat, but Blade comes out from Water. The Sound Bear just barely keeps him alive. He waits for the Coalescence in the Sound Bear to be done. He at least trades that out with a Moira. So much healing gone here for WildCat as they try to get a good footing back onto the payload, but Going Water have a self-destruct and a primal. Self-destruct actually goes in from the offense. WildCat try to continue, but they're really desperately just holding on. Primal from Muse trying to pressure the supports here from the defense, but this is just chaos. The Moira is back from WildCat. The EMP is dropped from WildCat. Going Water, I don't know if they have enough to hold here.
Oh.
How did WildCat just finish King's Row?
They were able to sneak out the second point and then did just the same right from underneath Going Water's noses. They are in this match. They're still in this map here. They could definitely still have this be a complete turnaround as they have regained a semblance of control here behind Haven being an absolute monster. Costos, I mean, everybody is just out of their minds right now. We're seeing consistency from Owner on the Brigitte, really shutting down Umte. I think that is a really integral piece of why WildCat is able to be so successful right now on this map. Especially on their attack. We see Umte time and time again trying to be aggressive, trying to create that space. A lot of times we see him, be that tank that is so good at being not only strong and aggressive, but also elusive. And it's so hard for him to do that when we see so much damage, so much pressure being thrown at him on top of just being stunned every time he tries to dive in. Owner is basically holding the shield bash for his dives and not even really needing to save it for Water at all, as they're just trying to focus the hacks onto the Genji instead.
You just read my mind about Owner. His Brigitte was giving the tanks of Going Water so much trouble. A lot of the kills onto Umte happening because of those stuns. That's why Owner's sticking onto that. Haven is going to be dueling out that Sombra against Doha. Water back onto the Genji. Going Water, love this composition here onto the defense. They're going to stick to it. WildCat bringing back the full goats plus the Sombra as they do the exact same strategy, going towards the left side of Hotel. But they have this time a Reinhardt from Muse, and he's going to be really giving some trouble to Water, who comes even close to them.
Oh, they've got him kind of caught in here inside of Hotel, but Brigitte coming out, trying to smash away Doha. He's going to get the health reset, and Water is just kind of keeping things at bay. Only 24 seconds remain here. WildCat now with their last opportunity to make this push work.
Oh my god, and you have Doha's way closer to the EMP. Water's gonna probably build Blade in this fight. They're completely surrounding WildCat on this attack. Water gets hacked though, and Muse is there for the finish. Doha about to get this EMP. This is what Going Waters needs to hold this defense. But WildCat pressuring. They almost have a take. It's in overtime. This is do or die for them, and Muse is the Reinhardt you do not want to mess with. He's not allowing Going Waters to get anywhere close, and Going Waters gonna give this up. They're gonna try and hold streets.
What's so incredible about this too is that he's on Reinhardt, but he doesn't have that enabler, that Zarya you typically see here on King's Row, especially alongside the Reinhardt, just to kind of allow him to just go forward and be aggressive. despite that, they run the Diva to have that high ground pressure, force those supports to just be disallowed from being able to just continue to heal. But, oh, look at this sneaking.
Doha, oh my god, he's gonna drop EMP, and they have Blade. Where is Water? He's gonna
And
be
the nano
sneaking up on
boost.
some ledge I've never heard of before. And there's nothing, there's no Transcendence, there's only a Sound Bear, there's only a counter EMP if they really want to go into it. But Doha drops the EMP. Nano, Blade, Water takes care of one. Who else will be his next victim? Half is right there, but the Brigida backup from Owner's incredible. Owner just took care of 2 people, including Water on the Blade. Going Water trying to hold this defense. They were really relying on these ultimates that should have won them the fight, but Owner, its Brigida is just on another level.
WildCat came in right after that EMP and just countered it with their own, made everything just kind of balanced, and then WildCat just turned things around with the Brigitte. I mean, that was insane. You see Water making the swap himself as well. That Genji is just simply not getting the job done.
Oh, they need to go in now. Going Waters don't have any ultimates besides the Sound Bear. They're gonna drop it now, but they're all anti. They have to be very careful how they go in. WildCat also purpled. Have to be careful. The tank, no, that was not a good time to get bashed. Muse, the Reinhardt down. No Resurrect, no Mercy. Is there a chance for WildCat? The rally starts. They're all anti. How much benefit are they gonna get from this? Haven about to get EMP. Is he gonna need to use it? The Nano onto Umti as the Reinhardt. The swap from the Winston earlier to duel against Muse. It's Going Water who have the upper hand. It's a Nano Brigida on the field. Owner pretty much invincible with this. He's already taken care of 2. Is he about to win this fight for WildCat at point B? Going Water in some trouble. Self-destruct. Doesn't find anything. It's probably 3 versus 3 now onto the payload. WildCat in overtime cannot drop anybody here, and Owner hasn't died, or now he just dies now. Has the rally to, if they're able to come back, but only meters away. Going Water have not given this one up. Umte with the shatter. There's nobody inside. He drops it down, only catching Baby Diva and Haven into the back. But this allows Going Water to clear the payload. WildCat finally dropped their attack, and the payload will stop here.
Wow. Why don't you go ahead and take a breath after that one? You might need it.
I'm so sorry. That was probably a marathon for everybody watching, including my own voice. So
Either way, I mean, that exactly tells the story of just how ridiculous that was. Because here's the thing, and I think this is what deserves the most respect, is the fact that WildCat was put so far behind in that situation, because at that point where the payload sits, that is so far away from the attacking spawn. They have to go so far, cover such a great distance, as the payload did, obviously, as well, which is certainly in their favor. But what is not is the length of time it takes to get from their respawn to the payload and make sure that they continue that fight. And they were able to continue that fight for so long. They were able to buy time for the respawns to come in. They gave themselves a chance. Goin Waters continued to struggle in that fight, despite a significant advantage early on that set them up to create a lot of momentum and just ride that. But they still struggled. WildCat, despite that long respawn walk, was able to continue to pressure, to continue to support and make sure that they were able to maintain their composure long enough to have those respawns. They had that shot. They almost got the last point, but now it's Goin Waters' turn. Can they actually cover that distance with only 50 seconds more base time in this second push of theirs?
Well, you talk about composure. Water, how composed is Water right now? Because he's gotten so much focus from WildCat, especially Owner on this Brigida. So he's going to bring out actually his own Brigida as Going Water go towards the left side, bringing out a similar cop that WildCat did on their attack. Umte getting hacked, though, will stall this one out. He doesn't want to give any unnecessary ult charge going in without a shield. WildCat, though, they're set up on the perimeters of the point, waiting to engage at the perfect moment.
Oh, we see a sleep dart enable the charge as well. And Numte diving into the back line, looking to put some pressure onto the Brig, is going to force the Brig into the hallway. And that's actually very good for them, as Owner has been a linchpin for this WildCat squad ever since he picked up the Brig and has really turned things around. So to push him over into that hallway and deny the Brig completely, that's got to be what Goin Waters has to continue to do going forward.
You already talked about how similar of the time banks this is. This is not a guaranteed win for Going Water. WildCat could easily hold Street Phase. It's less than 50 seconds. almost just one fight that WildCat have to win coming into this, or maybe two quick ones, as Going Water really want to build up towards Noji's grab, 30% away, and you have an EMP from Doha. That's really the winning condition for Going Water.
Well, you have the Junkrat kind of feeding into Noji One's energy levels. We see them already taking this fight, and they have their ultimates coming online. Once we see the Graviton come down, we'll see the EMV, the follow. There's a ton of other backups to come through. We see a lot of control coming from Umte, has that knockdown as well with the Earth Shatter. We see Brig rally. I mean, the support is going to be there. Going Waters is set up right now to win this fight.
I hope everyone's holding on to their seats right now. You have Grav, EMP, you have everything on the board for Going Water. The yellow box of victory is right there. WildCat setting up the need half to get the trades, and he dies! You needed half so bad there. Now you have to have Haven pop absolutely off. About to get the EMP. He's gonna drop it right away along with Doha. This is desperation from WildCat. This is not the type of fight they wanted to take for their very last one. Going Water just seconds away, pushing the cart meters away to go 2-0 in the series of this best of 7 and the grand finals of Open Division Korea.
Flawless execution from start to finish. We saw them start things up, just throwing that Brig into the hallway, forcing that 6v5 almost, because the Brigitte wasn't able to do anything. Then instantly just going back onto that ultimate efficiency, playing the economy perfectly, and having everything at their disposal for that last fight.
Umte just loves this Reinhardt.
Monster.
Both Reinhardts
monster.
from both them teams just really popped off. I'm absolutely ready to throw it also to our analyst desk. What did you guys think of that match?
Lemon, Hurix, what interplay and reaction and proactiveness from both sides. I mean, I feel like after Lijiang Tower, Vowels, John, and I were all like, wow, WildCat, but the way that they adapted on King's Row, gave them such a good fighting chance. Unfortunately, though, of course, it will be Going Waters going up 2-0 at the half. But guys, let's harken back to Lijiang Tower. There were definitely, some interesting choices in terms of team composition coming up against Water on that Pharah. Vowels, why don't you start things off? How is Haven working out with that 1-to-1 dogfight?
It's not looking good, I'll be honest. Water, I bigged him up in the pregame because I know what he was like from China. He's an absolute monster on some of these projectiles, and that is what we're seeing here. Haven, it was a valiant effort, was occasionally getting a nice couple of rockets in, but that wasn't working. And the opposite strategy of just ignore Water up in the sky, win the ground war, that wasn't working either. So WildCat, they really couldn't find an answer to Water on the Pharah. And from what they've shown us, especially trying to stay away from the Widowmakers and hit scans of the world, I'm not really sure how WildCat could have won out that fight. I haven't seen anything from them on either map that can indicate they have an answer to Water's Pharah, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with the sentiment there in that WildCat didn't quite adapt. And I think that was echoed even in the second map in King's Row, where whilst they did change up their play style, it was very late into this game because we saw, and again, we're going to talk about Water, we saw Water be so impactful on that Genji. And only, after such a long time did they actually figure out what they needed to do, what they needed to swap. And once they did, we saw immediately Water just went straight over into that Brigitte. So I think that going back to Lijiang Tower, they kind of had a similar idea, but they just couldn't figure out how to deal with the Pharah. And they got punished for it, quite frankly.
Yeah, it was a little bit unfortunate, but hey, Lijiang's a wash. You turn your attention to King's Row, and there were definitely adaptations. I mean, Water, we were all watching him. I've just learned so much in like the last hour of watching just Water play. Like all of those tiny little perches where Kaka drops down. He thought he was still playing Pharah, drops down like a bird of prey, slices up some fools. But yeah, the adaptation from WildCat was actually perfect. Who eats birds? Cats. So but besides the DPS play, which is obviously beautiful, flashy, it's very obvious. Vowels, I know you were commenting quite a bit on the supports.
Yeah, it was great support play from both Costas and Hearth, and I'll give credit to Hearth. I feel like that's the first time I've ever seen a Moira come up with a clutch 3K. is not the first hero you think of when you think of those burst damage. You normally go for the Zenyatta or the Ana if you're picking that onto support, maybe even a Lucio popping off. But it came up huge. They managed to turn around what could have been quite easily been a lost fight after Costos somehow got to the car, and that was a great moment for me. It was huge to watch. Off, we all thought, nah, it's over, it's done, and then half comes up huge. But overall, I did really like some of the adjustments that WildCat were making. I do have to give them credit. They, after having a wash on Li Zhang, it's very easy to just accept, I don't know how to beat this team, start blaming players like Haven and etc. for not being able to answer. But WildCat weren't having any of that. They got themselves together, got their heads in the game, and remember, they are all in this together, and that's how you win these fights. And that's why, even if they didn't win out Kings Row, that's why we saw them be a lot more competitive. And it was
It took me
really
so long to figure out what you were doing there, Pels. It took me so long. But they did soar, they did fly. And again, going back to the supports that you were talking about, it was so dictated by the ultimates from those supports in that first stage of King's Row. The entirety of it was waiting for those nano boosts, waiting for those transcendents, or negating the efficacy of the enemies versions of those supports. But as soon as we saw that those swaps start to come out from WildCat, what we saw was Reinhardt come in, and from then on, it was that front line that was dictating the pace with those EMPs as well to back it up. Which is again, it plays to the adaptation that you talked about, Vals, was that they were able to change it up and they were able to do something that they just weren't quite able to do over in Li Zhang. So credit to WildCat. I just think it was just a little bit too slow to have the effect that they wanted it to.
Hey, but this is a best of 7 series, so you're on that upward trajectory. Of course, the whole question is, when will you finally be able to get everything together? Because it was really interesting. You bring up, John, kind of this shift in play style. Once it wasn't anymore about like playing around the EMPs, there was a lot more just like getting your hammer out and Nano Rhine v Nano Brig, like top 10, like Discovery Channel ultimate showdown. Like those videos that you click and it's like two giant monsters just smashing heads, because honestly, that's a little bit what that battle for point B in overtime felt like. And so, yeah, WildCat, they're really coming through. Owner, wow, what a Brigida play. Support hero, by the way. So yeah, but like moving on into Assault, I'm really curious, how you feel that John, that WildCat can start to capitalize on that, because we see a lot of those moments. Val's brought up the fact that back cap, right, with the 3K from half. I don't know. When I play Moira, I never use heal, so I don't know what you're talking about. All I ever do is get kills. I'm a fragger. But yeah, it's this ability to capitalize. You do see that they have this ability to capitalize on those small windows of opportunity, and there is that ability for the team to pivot. Do you feel that it's just a little bit more of that synergy, that communication, or is it the team composition or the heroes that they're playing that are kind of holding them back?
I think that they have adapted, and that's something that we've talked about quite a lot so far. And I think that it is really to do with a leadership or something coming through from the team, because it takes it's quite bold, right, to go for these calls to say, we need to change something and to make the decision as to what to change. I think that's quite a bold thing to be able to do, and they seem to have managed it. What I'm worried about is if they allow water back over onto that Pharah, if they allow essentially what was a really dominant performance to repeat itself, because it just seemed like they didn't have an answer to it. So if they go over onto a map that doesn't really enables a Pharah to be able to move around and have that effect, it could be really tricky to counter it out for them. But if they move over onto the Ana, we've seen Half play that before. They might have a little bit more luck there. If they have a Widowmaker, they bring that in, which maybe could be a little bit more effective on the Assault style than it was on Control Point, or would have been on Control Point. We didn't actually see it, but maybe there's some sort of leeway that they can do. But that's kind of the sticking point for me. If they can counter out water, I think they're onto a winner, but it's going to be tricky.
Water is that the weakness for WildCat, just like the aliens from Signs, Vowels?
Sure. I'm afraid that I'm afraid I'm too young.
Not
to
an
get-
M. Night Shyamalan fan, I
Not
see
seen,
here.
Sorry
you've
to
not
the-
seen Signs?
No, I don't
Oh,
watch
no.
Game films.
Oh,
You know, You know what I do like to watch though? I like to watch Water. He's incredible Genji, incredible Farah, coming up really well on the Brigitte as well. I may sound like a broken record going on about this guy, but he is absolutely incredible. It's what we saw in Contenders China. He was a hard carry for Legend Young Beyond, and that's what we're starting to see here. Absolutely incredible plays on the Farah in particular. They haven't been able to find an answer, and it's all just these small plays as well. Knowing all the perches you can sit on to catch the enemy off guard, be it
That's
the
crazy, dude.
yeah,
I
it's-
still like.
it's the antenna on Night Market on Lijiang. It's the little nook in the corner above the arch in King's Row. It's just small places like that where you can catch the enemy off guard, come up with these huge plays, and win a team fight decisively, just investing one ult. And that allows the rest of his team to play so much better as well, because they aren't having to invest those ults, and they can keep the ultimate economy going.
Exactly. It's like the fact that, everybody on Going Waters seems to be a threat. I was going to say we're talking so much about Water, and he's actually only one of, the 2 DPS players on this team. We've actually haven't even had the chance to shout out Doha and his incredible, ultimate generation on Sombra getting an EMP within the first fight. It's just classic for this guy. And Umte as well. We haven't even really highlighted the main tank from Going Waters. And of course, we also have to remember that there is also Yampi on the Going Waters team, who not only is a tank player, but a Widowmaker as well. John, you were saying that maybe WildCat will bring out the snipers. You think we might see a little bit of a Widow from Yampi?
I think it's going to depend on the map choice. If it's Temple of Anubis, I think almost certainly we'll see the Widowmaker first point. It's just so effective at pinning down from such a high level, because if you win out that Widow duel, you essentially just have to wait for the offensive Widow to win out the Widow duel, and then you can go for the push and then just win, because there's nothing you can do to stop it out, right? So it's just so difficult to deal with. So I think if we do go over to Temple, I think we'll definitely see it.
Yeah, and if we go to the Temple, I feel like this is the one place where you don't actually go in Water if you're going in Waters. I know that sounds a bit crazy after the last 2 maps, but if you think about his hero pools, the Farah, the Genji, the Brigitte, all great heroes, but we don't see them too often on Anubis. Maybe the Genji sometimes, but I'd still like them to see more the Yampi Doha combination there. You have Yampi for the Widowmaker, for the McCree, Tracer, those kind of heroes. You throw Doha onto the Sombra. We know how effective Sombra can be on Anubis, and it's just catching WildCat off guard again. They've made so many adjustments on King's Row to how to play without Water. If you throw the curveball of take Water out, throw Yampi and Doha in there as your DPS duo, that's going to catch WildCat off guard again.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, if you are going Waters, you got to use that hero pool to your advantage. Keep kind of shifting that target, right? Keep WildCat guessing. Are we gonna have to put Owner on the Brig again? Is Sombra the best? Is Tracer the best? There's so many questions to be answered. But I know you guys are probably going to be sticking with your predictions. Is that true?
Bet on it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I will bet on it. No money though. Unfortunately, I am but a poor caster. But I
that's
mean,
not a bet,
okay.
so-
What?
And it's not a bet. What
That's
are you
not
doing?
a bet. Well, in my heart, okay, John, my soul has been, what's left of it has been proffered up to you, Val. So
Are you
take it,
wagering your soul?
my wagering my soul? I mean, it's probably only half or 3/4. I don't know. There's like some Frito crumbs and lint. It's there's not a whole lot there, honestly. But I'm gonna double down on WildCat, because what I saw on King's Row gave me hope. and sometimes that's what you need, man. You come back from the half, you get your Capri Suns, you get some granola bars, right? You're doing much better on King's Row. I think potentially, if they continue to run that Sombra Brigitte, just outlast the enemy, that win that siege battle. So hopefully, please, WildCat, we'll see some better, some more competitive matches moving on into Assault. But we're going to take a quick break as well, so all of you guys can get some water, some Capri Suns, take a bio break. We'll be back with Korean Open Div Grand Finals Map 3 right after this.
When you're fun, 'cause you're desperate. Oh, here they come for a chance, for adventure. What's your poison? What's your pleasure? Oh, my city, she never sleeps. My city, she never weeps. My city, she keeps me alive. Give it up for my city, oh, oh, give it up for my city, oh, oh.
Welcome back, everybody. The Grand Finals Open Division career. We're getting right into the action. WildCat versus Going Water. Going Waters 2-0 in the series already of this best of 7. We're here on Gibraltar. Hearings.
We are indeed, and already up is Going Water 2-0 rather. And we will see Owner on this Widowmaker. We had some discussion about Yampi going over to the Widowmaker and already has found a place for himself, taking down Owner's Widowmaker, winning that duel out for them.
I'm very hyped for WildCat for this, and also Yampi, because we were like, Yampi who? Because Water was like popping off, and now Yampi's going to be substituting in, and also that WildCat full-held Black Shark in the semifinals on this map. So I'm very excited to see WildCat on their defense, or just overall on this map, if they can make this series close.
Yeah, there certainly are a lot of question marks here because, I mean, this could be a good map for WildCat, but they first have to win out the duels. I mean, you have direct mirror on the DPS, and so far it has gone a little back and forth, but I think this Widowmaker will certainly set the tone, and Yampi on the Widowmaker at that, already doing so.
It's the tanks on the defense that are really doing work, and this is going to stall WildCat out again. And they haven't gotten really much traction going, and you've really pointed out that Owner's not winning out these Widow duels, and you have Haven who's not winning out against Doha. So WildCat gonna get stalled out here again.
And once they get their ultimates online, it's just going to get even harder because, again, Going Waters with their efficiency, knowing what to use, how to use it, where to use it, when to use it. I mean, every one of those check boxes is indeed checked. I think it's going to be a struggle from here on out for WildCat unless they can find some way in, especially now that they are making adjustments. They're going to lose out some of their ult charge as well. They really need to find a hole to get this payload through.
Oh, the EMP drops. So from the defense, WildCat are all grouped up, and you can see they're just getting rolled through right now. Mainly Yampi with the 3K, and this guy just got substituted in, and he's already all warmed up.
I imagine he's just been sitting there. I mean, remember, this is a Lance, so I mean, imagine he's just been sitting there, just in the back room, just on target practice duty this entire time, knowing full well that he's coming in at some point to bring in this Widowmaker, and he has to stand up against Owner, who's been already, doing that throughout this matchup.
I just not sure what Owner, how much he can do. He's not going against Water's Genji anymore, and Doha's really too much in the backline for Owner to access. Owner's job is to take care of the tanks of Going Water, give his tanks an advantage, mainly with Muse back onto the Reinhardt. So WildCat taking a right side approach, but the shield is already really weak here for Muse. He's getting pressured back, and WildCat lost Haven, who had EMP.
And you see he's kind of changed the way he's playing. He's not aggressive anymore. He's just kind of going in, poking, saving his jump just for, little jump backs. But now he can be aggressive. It's allowed him, and now the EMP comes out as well.
Yeah, finally Haven gets back here with the EMP. This traps Unte, who still somehow survives. This is because of all the backup from Noah, Yampi, and everybody into the backline. Unte getting all the resources on this dive, and look how well he did despite Noji being out of mech that entire time.
This is more to the classic Going Waters style that we, haven't really been able to see much of because WildCat has just been, doing things a little bit differently. But this is exactly what we saw through quarterfinals and semis. Throw your resources at as often as possible. Allow him to create that space. Allow him to control the game around the pace, everything throughout. And an EMP again ready. And it just doesn't seem like they're ever going to get used to this.
Oh, I think they know it's coming. EMP, they're all grouped up. And I mean, you want to put your supports away from this so they can still be able to use their mobility. EMP is dropped from Going Water. WildCat are just stuck. Thankfully, Muse still has the Shatter, though. Won't be able to use it for a little bit. But the Transcendence from Noah just allows the defense to keep pressuring the payload. WildCat, this is the last fight for them, and they're antied. This is Yampi and Amy having such an impact into the backline, where I don't think I've seen Yampi or Amy died this entire map, but WildCat, this is their last chance yet again. White Snow getting back into mech will be the start of something good or not, because he was trying to get back into it and Yampi says no.
I mean, you're not sure if they haven't taken or they haven't died yet this map. I'm not sure that they've taken any significant damage this map. I mean, you see them at, trickle down to about a half of their health bar. That might be just the most that they've taken. There's been no real regard to just the pressure that's been coming out from Yampi and Amy, and just the the attention that that has been thrown at them is basically at a zero, right? I mean, nobody's been able to get back there. Every time they try to get through server room to just try to get onto that high ground, is right there. And remember, all those resources are right there as well. Amy has been throwing biotic grenades, keeping healthy, but also because of his positioning, he's been allowing those biotics to kind of hit and get those purples as well. Everybody that comes through. WildCat has just struggled to deal with that time and time again, and now it's a full hold. They're already up 2-0. I mean, Goin Waters is perfectly positioned now to give themselves an easy 3-0 lead.
And I think the main issue for WildCat was composition. They had this sort of Reinhardt, very death ball-y type of composition where Going Water, half their team was on the high ground. You had Noah's Anna and Amy's Zen, and you had Yampi on the Widow, all into the backline, not being able to be accessed from WildCat, who were not really running any hit scan besides a Sombra, so that's still not long range hit scan to put any pressure onto the backline. So WildCat, they had this very frontline setup and actually didn't very successfully pull off a frontline offense. So Going Water, all they have to do is push the car in the yellow box of victory, which I think is just shortly after car wash. So WildCat, let's say, it's not impossible for them to hold a defense at car wash, but this is one fight that they have to hold one fight for so long, and I just don't think it's going to happen.
And we already know that Yampi's in, so we know that there's going to be a Widow duel. We know that Owner is going to have to take on Yampi, and we have to see if he can actually win that one out, because at any point he loses that fight with Mercy's not in play here, that is it. WildCat will lose this map. So there's 4 minutes of time for Yampi to just win one duel, and that might just do it. And we already see Amy actually going over to the side. We see Mercy's on both sides because obviously they know how important that duel is. I mean, that is pivotal.
So not only the power boosting the Widowmaker, but getting those resurrects if there's a little ouchie, especially for WildCat, that's going to be important. So they don't have much room to kind of give space to Going Water, and at least Going Water, they have a different approach. They're not having Doha with the Sombra this time. They're going to have him on the Genji, and look at this, he's already 65% on Blade.
We see the Brig up top here, up on this high ground, and I like that positioning as long as he just kind of makes sure to stick up there to make sure that doesn't have that easy point to just jump up, and he loves to go up there, but they're going to have to put pressure on Haven here to drop him down and make sure that they have that ability to go up to blue box.
And they need to kill Doha because he just got Blade within the first minute of the game. Self-destruct here from WildCat could just ward Doha away if he were to use that Blade. White Snow might desperately need to keep that space for the defense. The yellow box of victory is right there. There is no room for error for WildCat whatsoever. Oh, White Snow gets slept. Self-destruct in Doha with the Blade, but it gets countered from Half's Transcendence. He's still finding kills through it.
I mean, it always comes down to Noah just having that biotic grenade. We saw Amy pulling it off before. It's Noah now. It still allows them to find kills with the nano-boosted Genji inside of the Transcendence. Now it's just cleanup duty.
Oh, you got a hamster on the field. You got a monkey and a hamster walk into a bar. Let's see if it can hold the defense, though. They're getting antied, and all White Snow has to do is just bounce around, but can he burn enough time for reinforcements? Meanwhile, you see the little blue monkey back there? That's messing up the spawn doors of WildCat, already forcing out the rally from Haven. And meanwhile, Doha has another Blade. He just used it at the start of this fight. And somehow Amy is surviving through all the chaos as the Mercy. So Going Waters having all the kills they need. WildCat stalling this out as much as they can.
Yampi in perfect position to just deal with this, though. I mean, typically you see guys go over to server room and just have free reign over spawn doors, but easily they're able to clean up with him up on the high ground instead and just dishing out damage to anybody who jumps on the payload. But that was a very quick end.
Jebaited.
Oh, jebaited.
EMP, click. Oh, I love it that they did that.
And they knew he was there, too. You saw the D.Va just spraying a little bit. It was just right at the beginning. You could see the D.Va spraying.
I'm very surprised they didn't really set up their positioning accordingly. I mean, that's really a narrow place, car wash, right? Like, I would have liked to seen their supports more spread out towards the sides, like especially towards the left side where you can go into the corridor and stay safe. It really didn't feel like they tried to protect anyone from that EMP. They just tried to survive through it.
And something you might be able to notice is when we pull out, you can see that they're in parties. And something that Goin Waters does, and I think this is actually like a really big deal, is they operate in parties when they go in. And what that does is it creates a different little color that you see on specific players that are in your party. So you see them going in duos and pairs. And what that does, I mean, they go in with, the Widow is with the Diva. And what that does is it allows the Widow to call, I'm getting pressured. Diva turns around, instantly sees the different color as opposed to the rest of his team, dives over there and has the defense matrix. And that's the kind of coordination that I think sets them so far ahead from the other teams.
And I think also Going Water had a more dive heavy composition. Like they had the Genji from Doha, they had the Widowmaker backup. They really had their dives pushing forward, while I felt like WildCat, they used the Brigida to get that frontline offense going, where it never really got traction. Did we really see any changes from them? It was really only Owner who was flexing onto different things.
And even then, he's flexing onto things that really aren't going to be the big change. I mean, we need a catalyst here that's going to really throw Goin Water off in a big way, I think, because with Yampi and Water, with the consistently that those two have brought to these this team with Goin Waters is that, despite Water not really playing a huge amount of heroes, I mean, today at least, we've only really seen him on Pharah and Genji, and I think for just a slight moment, Brigitte. But Yampi on the Widowmaker and his ability to deal with someone who has been playing Widowmaker all day, and his ability to show up looking like not only is he warmed up, but that he's literally on fire. I mean, dishing out damage and taking out Owner. Owner backed up into a corner even on his defense, where, he really should be kind of asserting his dominance in that situation. But I think this is the first time really that we saw Umpte able to just do what he did in the quarterfinals, in the semifinals. And it seems like that is certainly behind the fact that the Ana is just free. I mean, nobody has done anything to the Ana in that last map on Gibraltar. This is the first time that we've seen, I think, WildCat really struggle to get into the backline. Before, we've seen it a couple of times where Haven was able to do that on Sombra, but it's just not happening on Gibraltar, where we see the verticality come into play a little bit more.
And speaking of asserting dominance, we didn't see that from WildCat. And you would think that this would be their map choice. And the way that they sort of took a different approach to pushing through Car Wash, instead of having your dive team sort of go onto the high ground, make the space for you to have, one or two people onto the payload and pushing it. So you're occupying the high ground and the low ground. WildCat only stuck to the low ground. So this allowed Going Water to have the high ground, have server side, and just completely surround them. And WildCat had no really any eyeballs on their flank. So you had Doha constantly coming in with EMPs, or constantly being able to build those EMPs much faster, because WildCat weren't really worried about making space. They were just worried about pushing the payload. And that's not going to be the way to play, especially Gibraltar in that point A area.
And it really feels like they're kind of relying on Haven to make those plays on Sombra and to try to at least in part deny Doha with the Sombra from him, respectively. I mean, because here's the thing. In that situation, I would have much preferred to see a Genji. I would have much preferred to see, a Winston Diva Genji dive or something of that nature to really put some pressure and at least force off the Ana and the Widowmaker just to even a small degree, to allow the rest of his team to have some ability to actually sit on the payload and start pushing that and force some maybe misplays to come out from Goin Waters. But we didn't see any of that. We saw a lot of plays, like you said, just going to server, and they just kept playing the ground game to server, where they get caught there, they get surrounded, just as you mentioned as well. And really no effect was made at all throughout their entire 4 minutes that they were allotted in the time bank. So they caught themselves in this situation where, because of the fact that they're afraid of what Doha has been doing throughout this matchup, and you can see that impact on the way that they play, the way that they go into fights, because we even look at the play of the game and you can see them just turning around, making sure that if at any point a hack comes out, they can turn around, deny, and then maybe take Doha out. But they never found him. They never find him ever. Even the Diva, who's just wildly flicking around trying to get some kind of damage just to tickle him and bring him out of that stealth so that they can get him, so they can pressure him out and put him out of position. It's just never happening. They haven't found an answer. The Sombra clearly isn't it. I think you start looking in other directions now, and certainly the backline is one to start with.
In another direction, Muse, I feel like there's a big difference in his performance from Kings Row to Gibraltar. You saw Kings Row, he was the main reason, with this Reinhardt swinging his hammer away, able to capture the point due to how aggressive of a Reinhardt he was playing. But due to the other team playing a Widow, all he could really do was hold right click, hold his shield up for his team. Then it got broken and then he got fed on. So I felt like Muse not having much of an impact sort of crippled WildCat's pushes. He's really depending on, like you said, for Haven to make the big plays, really relying on White Snow to matrix so he can shield manage a little bit better. But Muse, I felt like all he did was provide shield, break it, and then die. And there wasn't enough aggression from him to swing his hammer away when a Sombra got close, or to fire strike the Widow or something where Muse had more of an impact.
Even when we saw WildCat defending Goin Water, they actually had a really easy go of it the last time we saw them playing on Gibraltar. I mean, if we harken back to that, we can remember the Brigitte playing from server room that just played on low ground, was just kind of there to try to deny any tank aggression onto the supports, onto the back line. But realistically, they didn't do anything. I mean, a quick adaptation from Goin Waters was able to make sure that they didn't really allow Brigitte to really have any kind of influence in that matchup. Here we see that, the very opposite of that. Playing from blue box, playing from high ground, and again, an adaptation was made from Goin Waters, and you can see the mind games coming into play there as well, where they go up to high ground, they pressure off the Brigitte, force him to low ground, and all of a sudden it's the same exact situation that we saw the last time around, where they forced the Brigitte down, and now they have full control. We see the Sombra taking up blue box, and then all of a sudden they have hacks coming in from above. Sombra doesn't even really have to move. They have pack control as well. It's completely clinical, the way that they execute all these strategies and the way that they adapt to anything that WildCat is trying to throw at them.
And I just think it's a little bit unlucky too that I was hyping up WildCat for this match because they full held Black Shark in the semifinals, and then they kind of got full held in that exact same spot. So maybe this would have been a different story if WildCat would have been on defense first, like how well, they actually would have gotten a chance to push the payload all the way. Because now, like, going on their attack, they have literally one fight. Going on defense, they only had to lose one fight, and then they lost the map. So this was kind of a tough go for WildCat. If you're weaker on the offense, would have been better to start with the defense. But you're going into our next map shortly, Horizon Lunar Colony. Thanks for sticking with us. 3-0 for Goin Water if you're new to the stream. This is the grand finals, playing for $4.5 thousand US. So this is a big match for both teams.
I think this is a good map pick too for WildCat, because Goin Waters, they have Doha obviously in their back pocket. They or their front pocket, or just outstretched in the palm of their hands. I mean, they're giving it to us right now because Doha here is going to be so scary on a map like Anubis. We've seen him time and time again go out on the Genji. He's incredibly consistent, probably one of the most, if not the most consistent displays of lethality that we've seen from anybody playing in the DPS role is his Genji on Anubis throughout this playoff series. But I think denying him of that opportunity, forcing this over to Horizon Lunar Colony, where WildCat has displayed some different strategies.
Bring back the
door. I think that's a good play for them. I think that's where they might have an opportunity to shine. They could bring out something like a Hammond defense that might be something that really kind of throws Goin Waters for a loop. This could be a potential good turning point for them. Specifically, previously, we saw them bring out a Winston, Diva, Torb, Junk, and a Brig comp.
Love to see it.
While that wasn't incredibly successful, it was kind of an interesting take, and I think it could be really, really oppressive versus dives, which is very important against a guy like Umte, who can be denied in that way. And if you can deny Umte in that fashion, then I think that really opens up the rest of the team to be suspect as well. And I think that would force some changes for Goin Waters and really force them to have to adapt yet again.
I'd be so excited to see Owner back on the Torbjorn. I've already said it, but it does have some value, some reason to use it. If you think of like Doha, if he's going to go Genji, if he's going to go dive something, it forces his focus towards the Torbjorn, because that Torbjorn turret is just going to trickle in, and that Molten Core, you want to deny that Molten Core as much as you can to the Torbjorn. One of the better ultimates also in the game, but Goin Waters on the attack, 3-0 in this grand finals, possibly the final map they need to take. But Goin Waters, the Doomfist, but wait, The Winston Hammond? Is this real? What is going on?
This is if there was ever any kind of mood being displayed from like NA contenders, this is exactly it. Maybe with a diva instead of a Winston, but either way, this is exactly it. We'll see them come back with that Hammond. Actually, it's going to be a diva there. They're just going to go to dive, but they still have that Doomfist. They still have the Sombra. What's interesting though is that they are playing with Lucio Mercy, so this does cater to their ability to just swap things up completely. They're going to go goats now, and they're going to try to play into what is essentially a half. This is a strange composition from WildCat, actually. Really going to want to make sure that they keep their backline supported in this particular scenario here. And I think that's why they want to go goats. They want to force pressure onto the front line, force them away from the point because they have to dive away and try to be elusive away from the goats, spearhead, and then just dive right for the supports. That's going to be their play here. That's what they're going to look for. Jump onto the Zenyatta as soon as those tanks dive away. And as soon as they find that, they'll get the first point for sure.
And speaking of play, so Haven or the Sombra just spotted out all these swaps going in, and now you got the perfectly timed pause. So now we can all sit back and discuss, and the teams can discuss how they're going to attack or how they're going to deal with the upcoming attack of Going Water. And actually, I was all like, question mark, what's this sort of attack that they're running? They actually ran this in the semifinals, but just like the semifinals, it works out for about 10 seconds until they realize they don't actually know how to execute this properly, or it's just really not working out. And they're going back to, I think we were heading into goats right before that pause.
Yeah, it was pretty much goats, if not exactly goats. Maybe they had, I can't remember if they had an Anna, or if they're bringing out the more. I think they are running the Anna version of goats there. That was a nice sleep start to set things up, and the pin to follow.
That's
tactical pause. He wasn't ready.
It's WildCat more like BlackCat, because that was just a really unlucky play from Haven. I feel like we spotted him getting dinked from Zenyatta's too, but this opens up an opportunity for Going Water, already acquiring a tick. When are WildCat gonna drop down? It's gonna be Muse though. He gets pinned and dealt with immediately, also thanks to Doha, who's on the Brigida.
Shoulders from Umte, sponsored by Dyson, just pulling in targets, pulling them into a wall as well, but nonetheless, we'll see him just going ham, swinging away. They can't do anything. You can see them just turning for the supports there, and that's going to be their targets as they just clean the floor, wipe it clean of WildCat completely. And now they're just going for that second point. And look how charged Yampi is there as well. You can see him with that high energy, already at 60% towards the next ult.
Oh, yeah, Owner. He's ready to give it. Oh, he actually gets okay, well, let's try this again. Owner on the Bastion, and he's got the Ana with the Nano Boost by his side. The Transcendence so from half he's gonna, I guess, be the one who stalled this out. WildCat not having any tank presence onto the point, already giving one tick away to Going Water. They just use the grab, the Brigida, the self-destruct, everything on the board for Going Water, looking to close this map out with almost a 6-minute time bank. WildCat this is the wildest defense. It is just not going right.
And they needed something to happen here. They needed some kind of ability to turn this around, and it's just not looking like that's going to be possible. I mean, right off the bat, we saw a very interesting setup coming through from Going Waters, where they had, a version, I guess, of a chaos comp where they brought in Lucio and Mercy, which is not the typical, the standard that you would want to set for that type of composition. And then instantly a swap up, right? Instantly we see a big change, a big adaptation as soon as they scout out what WildCat is running there. And then easily we see, and I wonder if that was because they felt like they were going to see that Torb and Junkrat being played, so they have that ability to be mobile, get in there into the Junkrat, into the Torbjorn, take them down, have their resets with the Mercy, as well as a means to also create resurrects as well. And then they say, oh, you know what, they're not even running that, swap it up, go goats, instantly dive right in, create that pressure, force the tanks off, take the supports out, easily able to create momentum for themselves off of that as well. I mean, it's astounding how clinical Goin Waters has looked, and Amy, who is trying to fight his way back into contenders, created this team with the intent to do just that. It seems as though it's already set. I mean, he's definitely on his way.
Oh god, it's This is gonna be tough for WildCat. I'm trying to think of a good thought. And 404, I
It's
couldn't
tough.
think of one. So
Yeah.
going water on the defense, and yeah, I'm gonna address the goats. It's very momentum-based composition, and I feel like in the small area of point A, there's not really a lot that could counter goats in that area, except probably a mirror goats or a somber thrown into there or something. Now WildCat. Okay, I'll disregard what's going on there. But Going Water, or Riz, this is a very typical composition. We've seen them run this on Anubis and Lunar Colony. The Junkrat, Widow, Yampi really popping off on Gibraltar, and WildCat finding the passcode to open the door. Okay, they got it. Haven, I swear to God, if he was going to get picked
This is
again.
a big question mark. This is a big question mark. Okay. An anti-dive. WildCat sees this, and then they run dive. What's happening? What do they think they're going to accomplish here? I mean, the Sombra's going to go into the back line. They have the setup with half on the Ana. Maybe they feel like they can kind of win out that battle there and get in and force some pressure, or maybe pull someone down to the point with Haven just going in Viz and forcing someone a la Tracer, but they're diving into an anti-dive.
They also just spent 40 minutes thinking of this this strategy that you're hating on so much. And we'll see, maybe based on of ultimates, how much they can use the Winston, the Diva to displace this stationary defense from Going Waters. WildCat, you know, rotating up towards the high ground, would like to disable Yampi or any of these actually. And you can see Muse hasn't fallen quite yet. They've actually dropped down Noji and didn't successfully get the DMAC, but they almost got a tick here.
Yeah, we do see the Winston staying very safe. I mean, Muse has done well to make sure that he's been elusive, but they have disallowed the tick entirely, Owner, without really any angles to work with, and they haven't found any way to put damage out. And once we start seeing Riptires coming out from Doha, it's over. I mean, how do you get in with this particular composition?
Not with your Ana going down first anyway. They're still going to engage, and meanwhile, Yampi is already picked off too. And no one has any idea he's there. And I was a little bit worried about the what angle Owner was taking out. He manages to find a pick, but I'd like to see him on the high ground. He's been hanging out in this corner area, and I don't think he's going to be able to find much of an angle, let alone something through Umte's shield.
We saw both Infrasights going at the same time. They might take this duel. They're both kind of biting each other. Biting time from each other rather, to make sure that they don't have that, because both teams don't want to lose their Widow in this. Kostos has the ability to res up, so certainly Going Waters, Yampi doesn't want to lose out that duel for sure.
WildCat jumping in. The Nano Boost from Half is available either to Muse or White Snow. Both have displacing ultimate self-destruct Primal Rage, but Half getting picked off again from Yampi, and he gets the 2K. This guy's disgusting. Oh my god, if you get the Mercy. I'm so done with Yampi right now.
Oh, that's... I mean, we could even go back to the Monka Megas that we were making jokes about in the quarterfinals.
This is right now.
This is absolutely Monka S right now. I
Oh
mean,
my God.
I'm sweating profusely. I can't even imagine what WildCat is feeling. He's still got him.
That's so
He
PM.
can even hit baby divas that are just AD spamming. But there's the res. We'll have to see if they can get him back into his mech now, as he is going to have to start from scratch here. He does have his self-destruct now that he's back into it, but Riptire still at the ready. There's the hack.
Oh, hack self-destruct into the back.
Oh!
Yes! This is what they needed, but a responding tire, though, could spell trouble. It's going after the supports. It finds Kostos in the middle of flight. WildCat, they still have an Ana, but Going Water now trying to displace everybody with their own self-destruct. WildCat, they survived the engagement, but they're not pressuring the point as much. They're trying to get out the reinforcements of Going Water. WildCat have the Primal Rage now. They're going back towards the point, and Noah now with the Brigida is going to give a lot of trouble here to Muse, but he has the leftover Primal Rage, just has to use it on time. 2 ticks earned for WildCat. Could they at least get point A here? It's in the last 20 seconds.
Oh, I mean, nothing ready for Going Waters. They're just going to have to try to power through this, and I don't know if they can. WildCat is just looking so strong at the moment as they're clearing things out. And Owner on the point with a big pulse bomb to take out the Brigitte.
Oh, and you got the Desperation Hammond coming in. It's not over yet. Going Water have lost this fight before I jinx it. They're really just shaving off time off the clock. And now in overtime, 4 minutes added to this next upcoming fight, but you're dealing against a 6-minute time bank from Going Water, already at a disadvantage, but at least WildCat have stacked up to every ultimate, really relying on Haven to go big here, but Going Water setting up on the high ground. I'm not actually sure if the EMP can catch people all the way up there.
I think Haven could be their savior. I mean, he was their savior on point A. Now I think he's in a perfect position to do the same here on point B with this massive EMP that he already put out.
Oh, the Winston bubble at least still goes down to protect some people, but the huge carry factor of Going Water. So they've already lost their Doomfist, they've lost their Winston. Going Water can still hold this, but this is very much in favor of WildCat. They have to protect their supports, though. Muse and Half going down is the exact opposite of what I said. Meanwhile, Yampy is having Duck Hunt in the back with the supports.
What the hell? I mean, Yampy's insane. He's just getting headshot after headshot after headshot. I mean, what can you do? Here's the problem that you have when you run into Widowmakers like this. You have this strategy, right? You have this composition that's supposed to work. It's beautiful. It's perfectly crafted, fine-tuned. I mean, everything is in place for you to deal with everything that Goin Waters is doing, and then you just get headshot. And then you just get headshot. And then you just get headshot. And all of a sudden, you're down 3, and now you have to go back to spawn. What do you do?
You got a lot of bullets in your head, and I'm not sure what to do against that. Composition switches from WildCat, triple tank, triple support. Doha going in with the Doomfist, already finding Kozdos. So this is a tough offense, and you lost Owner. Trying to build that energy. Owner's not going to have much of an impact quite yet. Going Water, though, this is a lot of ultimates they just built up, mainly the meteor strike from Doha, which he just cleans up that fight so easy.
And now we'll see the Doomfist ult ready to go, ready to smash down on WildCat, who might actually have some players who are going to get caught out here, but we see a big adjustment being made here. And I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're going for the Sombra, so it's really going to come down to White Snow being the person to just jump forward. They're not going to play to contest early. They're going to look to try to assassinate targets, getting an advantage and taking an early lead and forcing pressure onto guys like Yampy and the Doomfist from Doha, where they're just going to play the flank.
You know how people have plan B and then plan C and D? They're on plan like F and G, and it looks strange because I think they're running out of options. What they're comfortable with, what has worked for them in the past, and especially how I don't think there's a lot of teams that know how to deal with a Doomfist. It takes incredible amount of coordination, and you got Doha, who's getting protected and peeled for so well. So WildCat now trying the triple DPS, double support, single tank. We'll see how this works.
Yeah, and it's the Diva too. And there's, again, so you have this perfectly crafted plan, and then you just get headshot. Now what? Now you lose because the Doomfist is inside of you, and you have a Winston breathing down your back, or down your neck rather, and it's just all over before it even really started. You have Owner swapping to Widowmaker right now to try to put some kind of pressure onto Yampy to try to find some way to get a pick. I mean, they looked like they were in a great position to get it right after their point 8 take. They had the ultimate set up. They were ready to go, and they got shut down by the Widowmaker, and they haven't been able to claw their way back since.
And you got some more swaps, but mainly if Yampy's popping off that much, you need to have a Widow that can take his attention away or at least contest him. Even better if you can get picks. So Owner kind of swapping around. Now he's back to there, and now you're going to have this Riot Shield sniper setup that some people do. Going Water, though, they have the ultimates to deal with this next fight, but this is WildCat's last chance to go into extra innings on Lunar Colony. The last 20 seconds, WildCat, they start pressuring the point here. They'll have a Valkyrie rally, so they have a lot of resources that they can spend, but not if Doha dives your mercy like that.
That's the biggest oof I've ever had to witness in my life, is diving in on that one. But we'll see the setup here. The Blade is out, but he is dead.
That's just unlucky. EMP, Blade, your Mercy dying first in the fight. Doha has been so elusive this entire series on whether he's a Genji, whether he's a Sombra, whether he's a Doomfist. That's my MVP for the match, as Going Water will walk away with the $4.5 thousand check split into how many ever pieces people get. Second place, though, they still get some money. $2.7 thousand here for WildCat. And of course, both these teams going to trials. I'm so excited to see this sort of rivalry develop in the trials, and if maybe these teams will make it to contenders.
And I'm curious to hear the MVPs too of our desk, and I think that's probably one of the more interesting things to think about too, because you know, they were mentioning Water before. I think Water is certainly a contender to look at for someone that would be, you know, that MVP status, especially for the games he was in. He was hugely pivotal in those matchups. And then you see Doha popping off. You see Yampy popping off. I mean, all three of these players were excelling in their role throughout the entirety of this set. They just looked so good. So to think about what person could possibly be MVP with both of the supports doing so well, both of the tanks doing so well, all three DPS members, what are they going to say? I have no idea.
I think my MVP, I actually gonna switch it or give it to Doha with the sleeping mask, because that's like half BM and half amazing. Because I also want that sleeping mask because it's a cute
Yep.
little diva one, and he's just sitting back. You guys didn't, you missed it. After the match, he's just laying back in his chair with the sleep mask on. I love it. 4-0 for Going Water. Love to hear what the desk says. Ham, what did you think?
Cute sleeping mask, but nobody here is sleeping after that incredible Overwatch fest, a fist fest rather. I mean, honestly, what is a rocket punch but a high five to your face? Unfortunately, the support players from WildCat not going to be really appreciating that. But guys, I mean, before we dive into Lemon's question about MVPs, what Yappy? Just it was just
Yeah.
a symphony of just headshots, that crisp dink. Okay, we're gonna throw it to you first, John. Just what do you
Yeah.
feel after that match?
There's some people think they can outsmart him, maybe, but he's yet to meet someone who can outsmart a bullet. It's
Ah.
really difficult to do so. Man, it's just beautiful to see a Widowmaker pop off like that.
Mhm.
It's something that you sort of very rarely get to see, especially when it gets to the top level, because everybody's a really good Widow. Well, everybody that you come up against is, but sometimes people just shine through, and I think that's what we saw here.
And we talked about how WildCat had reinvented some of their strategies and made adjustments to counteract how Going Water was playing. You want to talk about reinventing? Going Water coming out after halftime, it was the start of something new. Moved away from all these heavy water carries playing around the projectile-based heroes, and it was all just invested in Yampi's Widow, and for good reason. It was a completely different team, and Wildcats couldn't adjust.
I mean, multiple different looks and all of them equally deadly, I think is the takeaway. As I mean, Going Water as taking away the proud new owners of a substantial check from the prize pool, Going Waters, and the bragging rights as well. I mean, it was clear, I think, at least to me, that Wildcat relying very heavily on that Sombra, where Overwatch is kind of at a place now where one tricking is not really the way forward. Different maps, favor different kinds of heroes. The interplay, you also have to, take into account what your enemy team is strong at, and that Sombra is just not really making much of a difference. But regardless of that, the meat of the question is going to be, out of all of these amazing players, who is MVP? We'll throw it to you first, Vals.
As flashy as the DPS were, and trust me, they were flashy, and as great as Umte and Nojuan were on the tank roles, my personal MVP is going to be Amy on the support role. We talked about earlier how they are the team captain. They've put this roster together themselves, and that really showed. Absolutely huge plays on just about any support hero they picked up, and being able to lead the team. You could tell the differences in how the team played after Amy died as well. There was just differences in team coordination. You can tell they rely on Amy a lot to lead this team, and I don't think there's a better choice for MVP. It is Amy's team. They've won off the back of Amy.
Right. It's like one of those things when your support lineup is so strong, so solid, you feel completely confident just diving in there because you know that there will be, the heals at your back. How about you, John?
I am gonna have to go with Doha. I think on Going Water. So consistent on that Sombra, and he played Doomfist. Like, what more do I want in an Overwatch player other than playing Doomfist and playing?
I would
Sombra?
like there to be not so many Doomfists. Signed, Reinhardt. Yeah, it's unfortunately though, but
yeah. No, I just think that it was so consistent, always in the right place on that Sombra. Sticking to the status quo of how it should be played, and well, what time is it? It's EMP time. What are you gonna do?
It's EMP is the new voice line that's going to be coming in, I'm guessing. But yeah, what do you feel kind of just happened to WildCat if we were to do kind of a post-mortem of that Horizon lunar colony and Gibraltar as well? They just kind of, it seemed like maybe the well was running a little bit dry. We saw that pivot on King's Row, but when push came to shove, they kind of defaulted back to these comfort picks, which there is there's value in that, but sometimes the intrinsic hero to hero matchup just doesn't go in your favor. What do you think happened? What do you think kind of happened there, Valves?
Well, one of my favorite things to see in Overwatch is when teams ignore the meta, go off track, come up with something new. And Wildcats definitely tried that. They looked like they might be breaking free of the meta for a little bit, running Reinhardt-based competitions on watch point first point, or briefly moving over to a triple TBS solo tank diva look on Horizon.
Certainly
But
interesting.
there are reasons we have a meta, and there are reasons you don't see teams making these changes very often. Neither of those swaps were very effective. There were numerous more like them. That Wildcat were panicking almost. They were trying to come up with something, just throwing ideas at a wall, seeing what would stick, and nothing did. And Going Water just played it cool, calm, kept doing what they were doing, and Wildcat couldn't find an answer. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I think that you did have the case where Wildcats, they sat down. We've got to work this out. We've got to try and come up with something to come back from. But it just felt like they weren't adapting quite fast enough, which is something I touched on before in halftime. Is that they just weren't quite fast enough. They managed to get a little bit of a foot in the door on King's Row, but it was now or never. And unfortunately for them, it was never when it came to the next maps, and they just didn't quite adapt fast enough, which is it's a little bit disheartening to see, but it's the start of something new. They are going into contenders trials, so I'm looking forward to see what they're going to be able to bring out there.
Yeah, regardless of, the first through fourth place here, all four of the teams will be moving on into contenders trials. So we'll be getting some more Going Waters and Wildcat action coming through in the next season of Contenders Korea. But last question before we sign off here with the grand finals. I just want to know both of you guys' favorite moments in this series. I'll start first because you guys were totally right. Wildcat did not do well. So I'll bite the bullet first. My favorite point was absolutely so first we have that whole shocker where we're like, is that a Pharah on top of the light post in Night Market? We're like, oh, Water, this guy, he totally knows Pharah inside and out, all these maps. Surprise! All that diving Genji blade on King's Row as well. Kaka! The enemy team, obviously, Wildcat were caught off guard. I was caught off guard. It was just such a joyous, brilliant moment of, this player who has obviously invested so much time and effort into learning not only the games mechanically, but also just sussing out all these tiny little spots in the map environments that you can exploit. So for me, that was just such a highlight in general. So I'll throw it to you first, John. Bonus points, because you guys have been throwing around so many High School Musical references. I am just dying. Bonus points if you can squeeze one in, plus 100 points if you sing your best moment.
No. So
Boo!
So I mean, whilst the Genji and the Pharah, they had plenty of bops to the top of the enemy teams. It just, to me, it has to be the half triple kill with the back cap, and I think Vals might even be a bit annoyed that I've chosen that play because it's something he talked about earlier. But I just think it's so fantastic. It kept Going Water in the game, right, during what was essentially them going down, because it was overtime ticking away. They had no more opportunities. It had to work, and it had to work then. Otherwise, they wouldn't have got into it. So it's fantastic to see that happen. And it's going to be a night to remember for them. It was fabulous.
Sometimes you just need a 3K, man. How about you, Vowels? I am dying to hear your dulcet tones. Grace us with your vocal flexing.
No. No singing today. I'm sorry.
Dulcet's not quite the right word, though.
I'm sorry
disappointed again today. Poor Ham Tornado. All right.
Ham, one day you can hear me singing and you will wish that you had never been subjected to that. I promise.
I mean,
you.
dude, I've already had a bit of a sampler, so I think I'm prepared. But
we're just getting started.
There were. I feel like my favorite moment would have been some of these swaps you saw coming out from Wildcat, particularly on Horizon. Even though they weren't always effective, I do love seeing some of these teams come up with something a little bit off the wall, a little bit strange. We saw the Bastion coming out on defense. We saw the triple tank offense just after the free competition. I'd like seeing Wildcats just kind of having fun with it, trying to break free of your meta expectations, coming up with something new. And although it didn't work, it was still a treat to watch.
yeah, exactly. It's that kind of new, fresh Overwatch. Main tank to Sombra. I'm gonna be remembering that for my next ranked games, guys. It totally worked in Korean Open Div. All right. Well, that will do it for us here at Broadcast.gg. This has been the Korean Open Division Grand Finals Season 3. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here. It will be Freesia Gaming, Monka S, WildCat, and Going Waters making their way into Contenders Trials to compete with those teams, potentially moving on into Contenders proper in this next season. So a lot of exciting stuff, some good Overwatch coming your way. But for us here at Broadcast.gg, we are a community of esports broadcasters. If any of you guys are interested in learning about casting, analysis, producing, observing, anything like that, feel free to join our Discord. I believe the link is in the chat. And of course, always give us a follow on Twitter at Broadcast.gg, broadcast.gg, DOTGG. And of course, for all of our talent here, we also have our Twitters. Feel free to give us a follow. I have been Ham Tornado, that's John Allen. Vowels, and of course our lovely casters Lemon Kiwi and Hurex. And we cannot forget our amazing woman, the Wizard of Oz, behind the curtain, producing all of this, Sun Curtain. Also give her a follow. She has some amazing nail art. She's always just so fabulous. So just, give her a follow, even if you're not a producer. So, but that'll do it for us here today. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Congratulations to Going Waters. You take away first prize. And we'll see you soon with a little bit more Overwatch. You guys have a good day.